Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about universal income. So, what is it exactly? Well, in the 1970s, there's a bunch of people that got together and they talked about the potential of being able to give every single person who lives in a country a certain amount of money. And the idea was that little by little, as society is replaced by robots, machines, artificial intelligence, a lot of the jobs that were once available to people are slowly fading away. And at the same time, the problem is that the society, that the population is growing and growing and growing, so there's less and less jobs. So because of that, there's been a lot of talks about universal income and the possibility of giving it to every single person who would live in a country. So for example, if you live, let's say, in whatever country, in Belgium or in America or whatever, they would give you, for example, $1,200 a month, and that's no matter what, work or not work, and that would be supposedly enough money for you to at least live. And this idea kind of went away for a very long time, but then once there was the whole market crash of the real estate and all that stuff back in 2008, there's been more talks about it, and the importance of maybe having something like this actually exist. And I don't really remember what country, but I think it might be it's one of the northern European countries where they did do a small test with a group of people, a couple thousand people, and it was very promising. And I do think that it's important. I mean, something that people need to realize is that little by little, robots are actually taking over our jobs. Even you would think a job such as a teacher, where you need to be in front of a class, could not be taken over by robots, but in reality it can. I mean, think about it. They have online schools. So there's a virtual teacher. That's one person teaching hundreds and hundreds of students, and they can be pretty much anywhere in the world, and yet they're able to teach them through the website. So imagine if you could even go to a classroom and then there's a little robot or hologram or whatever they invent in those days, and basically it's teaching not just your classroom, but it's teaching hundreds and hundreds of kids, and still responding to their questions live, because there's either that one employee that's representing that one teacher in 10 classrooms, we'll say, or even some artificial intelligence that can actually give us even better results by providing us with smaller classrooms, artificial intelligence that teaches maybe 10 kids at a time and can actually answer your questions and slow down and do all these wonderful things. So the job could either be still needed, but they only need one person for 10 classrooms, or completely obsolete and they only need a little group of programmers and maintenance people in order to maintain these futuristic robots. It sounds a little far-fetched, but yeah, it is going to be a problem, because I mean, the population has really risen throughout the world, even though a lot of first world countries have a problem where they say that it's going from 4 children to 3 children to 2 children to having 1 kid or not even any kids. So we have an excess of older people in some places and less young people for the workforce. And then we have third world countries where they still have a ton of kids per person, and they're all poor and struggling. So yeah, I mean, it's really something that's kind of scary, because I mean, they're not going to stop people from having kids. I mean, they can, but in first world countries, they're going to keep on having these kids, and I mean, they're going to keep on having the number of kids that they want to have, or not. And at the same time, the population is going to inevitably expand, except if we have a huge war and some natural disasters and stuff like that, which is something that we don't really talk about, but that statistically actually happens every couple thousands of years or millions of years, which extincts most of the population of the earth. But that's another thing. But let's say that we're in a utopic society where the population just keeps on rising and rising and rising. There's going to be a point where there just aren't enough jobs. One thing that is cool about internet, and I'll say anything that has to do with video games and programming and all that stuff, is that now you don't always have to seek a regular 9-to-5 job. You could actually probably get a job in some other country and work remotely through your computer and through your intelligence. You'd actually be able to create some pretty cool programs and stuff like that. But I do think that having a universal income would be something that would be kind of nice. It's important. Basically, if they provided, let's say, whatever they would calculate at the time that is the minimum for you to survive, then basically that would leave more options to people. It would leave basically the fact that if you want to make more money, great. You can maybe look for a job, and maybe it could even be a job that pays less, but because you're already getting that minimum income, it's just giving you that extra $600-$800 that you would want, and still you have that minimum income, and you'd still be able to survive comfortably, even with a part-time job or something that doesn't pay well. And at the same time, if people really don't want to work, it gives them the choice to not work and just live the way they want. They could still live in the forests, for all I know, and have at least enough money to buy camping gear and feed themselves. And it would be cool, because in some ways, when you think about it, all these countries have deficits, but at the same time, they're whenever they need more money for works, or especially military and stuff like that, they basically print money, or they say that they lend it from one country to the other, and it's all virtual in some way. At the same time, if they're building more things or fixing roads and stuff like that, you'd think that they're actually creating jobs, so they're creating an excuse to actually give money to people. So even if the money is printed, it doesn't really matter. But I guess there's people that are owners of these businesses, and they're not very happy about all this virtual money, because somebody's getting paid. If there's a deficit somewhere, who do they actually owe? I mean, they might owe a country, but they're not going to really owe, for example, a contractor, because they didn't pay the works. They have to pay, otherwise the person will not do it. So that's also like another subject to speak about. But I do believe that inevitably there is eventually going to have to be some sort of universal income, because it's just unsustainable if all the regular, even construction jobs, now robots are working and building houses. They're doing backflips now, running. Who knows, pretty soon robots will just be sent out to wars, and it's going to be kind of like in the Terminator. So yeah, it's very scary. But it's just something I wanted you guys to think about, and we can talk about it another time again, because I feel there's a lot to talk about this. But yeah, universal income might actually become something very realistic. Okay, have a good day. Bye.